Hello, good evening, and welcome to my lockdown lives. Once again, I thought I'd join you for a Sunday evening. Hopefully, you're good, you're well, and you are enjoying a lovely weekend. Father's Day, of course, so hopefully, you've enjoyed that as well. And you've had a really nice day, whatever you've been doing, wherever you are. Yes, it is time for wine, Pit Lane Jamie. So here we go. Cheers to you and whatever you're doing, and the fact that this time in 2 weeks we'll have had the first race in Formula One. And it still seems crazy to actually be saying that. And I still don't know quite how it's going to happen or how it's going to work. And I think a lot of people in the media are still waiting to find out. Let's put it that way. But I have a glass of Sauvignon Blanc, and the sun is shining. It's the longest day of the year. And wherever you are... Oh, Kevin, hello. You're in the Netherlands. I hope you're very well. It's been a bit of a funny one this week, hasn't it? All seems to be going kind of okay. And then we got the news a couple of days ago about Alex Zanardi. And out of all of the people I have ever met in my life, I think Alex has to be one of the most inspirational, one of the kindest, most genuine, just amazing people. And the news about his crash and subsequent hospitalisation has kind of knocked me for six, as I'm sure it has many of you. He's in hospital, he's in an induced coma, and I've been trying to update people as and when I've had sort of news that I can. But I made I made a TV programme with Alex and Billy Munger, and that's his sister in the middle, Bonnie. And we all went out to Italy, and we met up with Alex, and it was just one of the most incredible programmes I've ever been involved with. It was so cool. So our thoughts, of course, are with Alex and his family and friends, and you've just got to kind of hope that he pulls through this, because it's going to be a pretty tough fight. But if anyone can, this man has just been incredible. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm hoping he finds a way, and that his family and friends find a way as well. But I am thinking of you, Alex, and I will have a drink for you. And hopefully, the best news will come. Now, good news is today we have a fabulous guest. We have Abbie Eaton joining us, and she is, again, hugely inspirational when it comes to the world of driving, cars, motorsport, you name it. So let's see if we can, and if by magic, fingers crossed, she'll pop up and say hello to us. There she is!
I was worried then, I couldn't get it to work.
Don't worry, you are there. You are all good.
Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Hello. What are you drinking?
It's actually cider. I've just had a roast dinner, so I've popped it down a little bit.
Okay, who did the cooking, first and foremost?
It was a joint effort, me and my girlfriend.
Good.
But when you cook a roast dinner and then actually when you go to eat it, you don't particularly want it. But
I never have that problem.
Eaten way too much.
Yeah. What meat did you have? Did you have meat?
Yeah, I had chicken. Yeah, just
okay.
You can just cook in a bag, whack it in the oven. Don't have to worry about it. So it was a simple roast today.
Loving that. And celebrating Father's Day as well. So let me see if I can be clever enough. I might even have a picture of you. Let me see. Where is it? I did try and download it a little bit earlier, but then I got carried away with everything else. There we go. It's you and your dad.
Yeah, someone said to me he looks like Tiff Needell.
I have to second that. He does look a little bit like Tiff Needell.
But my dad's old, so Tiff must look like my dad.
Well, yes, clearly that's true. And whose car is that?
So that's my dad's supercar, a 250 national supercar. So he raced those for a number of years, and then I think when I was about well, that age probably, I think he had quite a big crash in one of the supercars, and he decided then to go into something a bit safer, which was cars. But yeah, so we've got lots of photos like that where I'm in his supercar around the house.
I love it. And clearly, number 44 on the side, that was your race number for GTs. Obviously, his race number. Where does 44 come from? Does it have a history? Because we know obviously 44 now is synonymous with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, most people, when they see I'm number 44, they just assume it's because of Lewis, but I'm not sure where my dad got it from. But yeah, it's just, I always wanted to have the same number as my dad, so that's why I've always run 44. Yeah, so it's quite special, really. My lucky number as well.
Oh, that's really nice. I like it very much. Now, Abbie, we've not properly spoken. So I feel like I know you already because we've kind of conversed, but this is our first real chat. So for anyone who doesn't know you, they're mad quite clearly, but can you give us like a little potted history of how you came to be where you are now?
Yeah, so as you've seen, my dad's always raced anything he can all of his life, and kind of I grew up around motorsport, and it was only going to be, a number of time until I eventually took to it myself. So I started karting when I was 10 years old, did that for about 4 years, kind of nationally in the UK, and then made the step up into cars and raced in a junior championship it was Sax Max back in the day, but I think it runs now as Junior Saloon Cars or something like that. So I did that for a couple of years and then moved into production touring cars, ended up winning that, which was awesome. That was my first kind of year of senior racing, so yeah, really special to be able to do that. And then moved into MX-5s, which I did for kind of on and off for a number of years.
So fun racing MX-5s. It looks good.
They're brilliant, and do you know what? They're so cheap for the performance you get out of them. We're doing similar lap times to the Porsche Boxer Championship, and yeah, if you bend an MX-5, it's not quite as expensive as a Porsche. Yeah, I did that kind of on and off just due to kind of budget restraints. And we had 1 year of kind of full year of racing at it and managed to win the championship in that as well. So, and that was really, really special actually, because it was a family run team. So that was like
amazing.
Team boss, if you like. I had my uncle as my mechanic. One of my good friends, Chris, is another mechanic, and Mum as the bacon sandwich maker. But an important job, to be honest.
Really important.
So yeah, won that in 2014, and then kind of made the step into GTs. Did a few seasons on and off again of racing. Did British GT in 2016. Finished second in Pro-Am with my co-driver Marcus. And then from there, kind of not that much racing side of things, but obviously I got the opportunity with the Grand Tour and ended up working with Jeremy and James and Richards on the show. So that's kind of brought us to here, really.
I mean, it's been up and down, hasn't it? And there's no doubt that if you're a driver wanting to drive, it's not the easiest route if you don't come from somebody who has a wealth of money, or you don't find someone along the way who's willing to just chuck money at you. And clearly you've made the move into the W Series and all that offers, but at just the wrong time. You must be thinking, okay, when do I get a break?
Like, everyone said when it got cancelled, they're like, oh, like what else could go wrong? But you've got to have a bit of a philosophical outlook on it, and I think everything happens for a reason, and hopefully it gives me a year to get even more prepared and even more kind of fitter, stronger, mentally stronger. I think all of us probably going through lockdown, I think we've probably learned a lot about ourselves as well. So yeah, it will be good when I eventually am able to get on the track, thanks to W Series, without having to worry about money and stuff like that. So I'm just, I want it to happen ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, it's been frustrating, I think, for everybody. Lots of people, as you say, have been making the most of their lockdown lives and being able to train lots. So how have you found lockdown?
I think initially it was kind of, I think for all of us, it was almost a little bit of a kind of gimmick, obviously a bit strange not being able to go out, but you think, the weather was beautiful at the start, so lots of sunbathing, a few barbecues if you could and stuff like that. But I think probably only the last maybe 2 weeks, it's really started to kind of hit home as to, we don't really have an end sight on when it's all going to go back to normal. There's little kind of flashes here and there of normality, but I think it's been tough trying to kind of keep focused on certain things. And as you say, it's been good that we've been able to have time to be able to train fitness wise. And I actually ended up buying a simulator at the start of the year. It was just before lockdown, so they announced that we were going to go into lockdown on whatever day it was, and then the day before I drove down to Bournemouth to pick the sim up, because I was like, there's no way I'm going into lockdown without a sim.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so lots of hours spent on that as well. But yeah,
Do you think there will be a correlation between the people who have done a lot of sim work and then get back on track and those who kind of haven't really embraced it?
I mean, it depends really. I think it's so different, kind of the stimulus and stuff that you have to take in to react to sim driving as you are to real life. But I think definitely it keeps you sharp. If you're in a good battle with another driver for kind of 20 minutes, half an hour, even on the sim, you've still got the same things kind of firing off. And I think probably one of the main things for me, which has been really useful, or I hope will be useful, is left foot braking, and just getting used to left foot braking a little bit more. Most of the things I've raced so far, I haven't really needed to left foot brake that much. I've done it on some of the corners where you need a little squeeze on the brake and stuff, but the hard hits on the brake I've not had to do with my left foot. So obviously with the W series cars and the single seaters, you need to have that ability. So that's been my main focus, really, getting comfortable with doing that.
So have you been doing left leg exercises as well?
Well, both single leg exercise, yeah, but I'm quite strong when it comes to leg work, so I'm all right with that. I'm quite my output.
I would not be any good at any of those things, I'm pretty sure, and lockdown has not done me any favours with regards to that. By the way, if anyone's watching and you have questions for Abbie, if you go to the bottom, there's a little question mark, and feel free to fire in your questions, because we would like to answer them, but obviously it's easier if you do it through that way. And then it also means that Abbie doesn't get writing all over her face, which is a bit of a bummer when you look back over it. But so, I mean, lockdown fitness wise, what have been the exercises you've been doing? What's your sort of go-to apart from all the sim racing?
I mean, a lot of arm work.
Very strong left arm.
My extremely strong. I think probably my go-to is I was lucky enough that I've got a really, really good personal trainer that I've worked with since the start of the year. And as soon as we went into lockdown, he was like, right, take some of my equipment, and, we'll write up a lockdown plan and we'll go through it. So, on FaceTime with him, we did like a strength session twice a week and a conditioning session the other times and stuff. So, I mean, go-to exercises, dumbbell based things, kettlebell swings, all that kind of stuff. Fitness wise, almost like a little bit like Joe Wick's workouts where,
oh yes, I did at least one.
Yeah, you've seen people do them. I've seen people do them. What are they called, planks and stuff like that. So core strength is really important as a driver, and I think the main thing we were trying to do, me and my trainer, was just limit the amount of strength that I was going to lose. And also with cardio, you lose your cardio like that, but strength, as long as you kind of keep it bumbling along in the background, you're not too bad. So I'm thankfully training with my trainer again over the last kind of 2 weeks or so, and it's so much better. It's awful how much strength I've lost, but it'll come back super quick. So yeah.
And we have to talk about your TV. We don't have to. We can talk about anything we want, but it would be nice to talk about your TV career, because it started, I suppose, with the ITV program. Was that the first thing you did, drive, or was there stuff before that?
Let me think. I've done like TV adverts and bits and bobs like that, but as a kind of a personality, drive was the kind of first time. And even then, actually, we weren't shown as much as actually what we were kind of cast initially as being.
Oh.
This to be like Strictly Come Dancing, so we were kind of the pros with the celebs and doing it that way. But it was so much fun filming that. It was absolutely wicked, you know, just getting to tackle all these different challenges with the celebs, and yeah, doing things that I would have probably never had the opportunity to have done, you know, without that experience. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And did that give you a taste for kind of doing more TV work, or did they come to you and actually it kind of worked its way that way?
I think definitely doing the Drive program, you know, just seeing how many people are involved in a production and stuff like that. I just think it's amazing, and everyone's job is so important. You know, I think probably the runners are almost the most important people there, because they keep everything ticking, and you know, it's a really nice family where, you know, everyone's kind of like-minded people, and you're all there to do that one job at the end. And you know, I was lucky with the Grand Tour that, yeah, I didn't kind of go to chase that. I kind of got picked out for it. So yeah, when I first got an email asking about it, you know, I thought it was a little bit of a wind up. I was trying to work out which one of my friends was so cruel to be able to do something like
that. I love that. You have total respect for your friends. It must have been a stitch up.
Yeah. And I'm like, it looks quite legit. Like, you know, it doesn't look like a fake email, but yeah, so kind of obviously went along with it, and got invited down to the track, and there was probably 5 or 6 cars lined up on the circuit, and you know, they basically said, look, there's a time that's been set in all of them, so just jump in and see if you can get near it. And they wouldn't tell me what it was for, and the excuse they kept giving me was that we might have a feature next season of you know, we need to see that you can race if we were going to put you in a race with the presenters. And I was thinking, this is quite, you know, Stig-like from the Top Gear days. And yeah, so I ended up, I didn't actually have any racing at that point. So in my head, it was kind of, right, this is the only opportunity I've got, you know, I need to make the most of it. So in my head, I thought, I'm either going to end up in the trees or I'm going to be very fast. Thankfully, it was the latter that came to the front, and yeah, I ended up getting the job. So yeah, what a wicked opportunity, really.
It's been amazing. It's amazing for, I think, every single female who likes cars, and for you as well, to give you a platform to, you know, keep a foot in, literally.
Yeah.
Loads of people want to ask lots of questions about the Grand Tour. So here we go. Nathan Jenkins saying, how was it? How was it working with the boys?
Yeah, lots of fun. A few wines on the night after filming and stuff like that. You know, I grew up watching the guys when I was a kid. You know, I grew up watching them on Top Gear every Sunday. So to be able to actually work with them was, you know, it was a little bit crazy to start off with, but you know, we're all, again, quite like-minded people. I think probably Jeremy and I are quite similar, and you know, we're both kind of northern, and we kind of, you know, we're quite direct with how we say things and stuff. And you know, there was a lot of respect between us all there. And you know, James is extremely funny, and same with Richard. And yeah, it was just an honour, really, to work with them.
Oh, it's brilliant. A lot of people are asking, what car was the best that you got to drive?
I hate when people ask that question.
It's like
so many. Let me think. Right, probably in terms of outright pace and like just blowing your socks off, probably the McLaren Senna, because it was just insane. But I think from a fun aspect, you know, because cars can be fun even if they're not the quickest, they can still be fun. So probably the Lamborghini Huracan Performante, because it was bright orange, it was so loud, it was obnoxiously loud, and I jumped in it, I had the biggest smile on my face. So yeah, probably a toss-up between those two.
I mean, it's the job that people just absolutely dream for, isn't it? It's just so exciting. When I was a kid, your job would have been my dream job.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute, let's have a look. Here we go. Here's another one that says, what's your dream car to race? Which is, I suppose, different from a car that you would want to drive. Racing is another kettle of fish.
Do you know what? I really, really want to have a go in a World Rallycross car.
Ooh.
Going a European Rallycross series called Titans, and their cars are kind of slightly underneath in terms of spec from the World Rallycross cars. But yeah, I think I would love to drive one of those. But you know, any kind of GT car, if you like, you know, even to drive at Le Mans in one of the prototypes would be amazing. But yeah, there's just something about a world rallycross car that I would have a go at.
Yeah, it'd be mega cool. Pit Lane Jamie is asking, how hard is it adapting from car to car? Now, in my job, the only thing I can compare it to is the amount of hire cars that we go through, and you're used to driving on different sides of the road. You're manual, you're automatic, you're in a huge car that transports 7, or then you're in a little tin pot thing. And I don't have an issue with driving different cars. I find it absolutely fine, but I know other people really struggle. So how is it adapting to cars?
I think, well, in terms of road car, when you first get in a different road car, you first need to adjust the seat, and it goes underneath the front, isn't it? And then it's on the door, and then it's on the center console, isn't it? And you but yeah, in race cars, or even driving the road cars on Grand Tour, you kind of get used to it quite quickly. And I think I've been quite lucky that I do instructing as well, so I can jump in and out of people's cars on track days, and you have to learn very quickly as to what the car will and won't do, and what it likes and what it doesn't like. And I think probably with the Grand Tour as well, having to jump in and out of, one day when we were filming in the rain, I was in a Bugatti EB110, had to jump out of that into the VW Up. The difference, in performance and how to get the most out of it. And it's just, I think you've just got to be a bit of a sponge when you sat in the car and just absorb every kind of bit of information you can and just try and adjust from it. And yeah, it gets easier. I think I remember the first time jumping in and out of a couple of different cars, my mind was like, oh, this feels so different. Something you learn to deal with.
And single-seater wise, that I suppose is where you need to go next. I mean, what's the last single-seater experience that you have?
So I've never raced single-seaters, and until the W Series assessment day, I'd never even driven one.
Wow.
So that is my main focus, especially over this next year, is just trying to get some seat time in a single seater. And it felt so alien jumping into a single seater for the W Series assessment. And obviously driving a car, if you're quick at driving, quick at racing, you should be quick in any car, but it just takes that time to acclimatize to the different kind of techniques. So just the difference of having all that aero and the slicks and the wings and everything. It's where in your head you'd be braking in a GT car, big heavy thing, forget about that. Like a mile down the road, that's where you want to brake. And, it's just, like I said to my mum when I was explaining when I was there, I kind of have to put my brain on the side for a bit and just try and learn everything new again. So when I do eventually get into the car and the season starts, I've got a bit of a curve like that to learn, but I'm confident that once it gets stuck in and I get used to it, I'll be quick.
Do you think you're an instinctive driver, or you have to learn? I think most people fall into one bracket or the other.
I think probably when SHIT hits the fan, I can be very instinctful, but I like ticking things off, so
right.
Quite methodical about it. But most of the time I've never had the opportunity to test, and I've maybe always jumped in straight into qualifying, so I have to kind of forget about that, or I have to try and do it as quick as I can. But yeah, in terms of kind of braking, for example, you'll pick a point to brake at, and then the next lap you'll try and push it a little bit further. But when you're kind of thrown in at the deep end, you miss out the 3 little steps, and you just have to make the big step. And if it's too much, it's too much, and if it's not enough, then But yeah, it will be interesting to see how I get on with that.
You'll be brilliant, I'm sure. Absolutely brilliant. Now, hang on a minute. I just want to scroll down because someone was asking about W Series. Here we go. Do you think without W Series you would have been able to move into single seaters? Says Amit Mandalia.
Not a chance. Single seaters are very, very expensive, and I think I've been lucky to drive lots of different things, but the opportunity to drive a single seater had never come up because the costs involved are just so huge. And I grew up watching my dad, who raced in tin tops and really single seaters was something I never really kind of wanted to go down. And I grew up watching V8 supercars on the TV and stuff like that, so kind of touring car based things was where I wanted to go. Having said that, now I've had a little go in a single seater. It is a completely different form of driving, and it's addictive. And I've raced for 18 years now, on and off, and to have something brand new-ish to learn is exciting as it is, scary. So, I just want to perform and deal with it, really. And thanks to the W Series, I've got the opportunity to do so.
So the obvious question when it comes to W Series, you didn't do the first season and then you did. And there were quite a lot of drivers who had, I suppose, reservations about W Series. Do you think they've managed to turn that whole thing around, and actually they've made it a very viable place for females to go and learn racecraft and be paid for it as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's no secret that when it was first announced, I was quite kind of open that I didn't agree with it. And, not that I didn't agree with people supporting women in motorsport. I think that's fantastic. But in my head, I just thought it was a little bit of a gimmick. And, there have been other championships in the past that have been female only that, they've not worked. They've been a bit of a flop, and it just makes us look even more stupid. So I was just worried that was going to happen again. I got asked to join in that first year, and I remember speaking to Dave Ryan on the phone, and I was like, I'm sorry, you're just not convincing me. The full season of that first year, the money and investment and the expertise involved in the championship, it's just made it a success. And it's testament to the girls that are in it as well. They could have had all this investment and all this support, and they could have crashed every single race, but actually their level of driving was extremely high. And speaking to the team now, I see that their long-term goal is just to try and get more females racing. And how I explained it to, I think, a press dude before was that, let's say there's 20 drivers on the grid, 20 females. Without W Series, probably 3, maybe 4 maximum would actually still be racing. The rest of us would all be sat on our backside. So straight away, they've already got 17 female drivers on the track. And they're not trying to view it as we need female motorsport and male motorsport. We're just trying to help the girls that are here, and the only way that they can do it, business wise, to keep it sustainable, is to have it in a championship. So yeah, that's kind of what my mindset changed through the year, and now I'm doing it. So
Jamie Chadwick's obviously a success story of W Series, and now she's got the gig in European F3 and the regional championship. She's got a major backer behind her as well. I think I actually got in touch with the boss of W Series, Catherine Von Muir, and said to her, congratulations, because that's what, more than anything, I think it needed. It needed somebody to back you guys. It needed someone to bring some money to the table, and it did that. It can support you, and it can also help you make more connections. And do you think in the future there will be more finance for females? Because I don't see finance for females at all at the moment. I think it's really limited.
I think probably to start off with, there'll be a lot of people like I was with the first year, kind of just watching what's going on and not really wanting to give an opinion one way or the other. And I think there's a lot of people that are worried that if they take a chance on a minority and it doesn't work out, then they're going to look stupid and people are going to say, I told you so. But I think definitely from when I started, 18 years ago, the amount of support and investment for females has definitely got better. And I think with W Series, Alice has had, the drives over in America and IMSA. Obviously, Jamie's had the opportunities that she's had as well. And, it's got to be a positive thing. And I think probably with W Series, obviously being on the TV as well, I think it's all going to eventually kind of go in the right direction. We're definitely not going backwards. I think probably the first year everyone was worried that it was a step backwards, but now, we're definitely powering forwards, and hopefully I can help, facilitate that as well.
Danny keeps asking, so I'm going to ask you, can you drift? Surely you can.
I can drift, yeah.
Yeah.
My girlfriend will probably say that I can't because she's a pro drifter, but yes, I can drift. So some of the shots you might see on the TV, I can go fairly sideways.
I love that. Um, Here we go. Here's a question for you. How can we support or help your career? There we go. There's an offer that I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting tonight.
well,
Yeah, put your pitch in.
Um, I think the best thing that people can do is just obviously, any publicity is good publicity. And, I like to think that I can, have a nice chat with anyone and talk to people. And, I think I'm a good brand ambassador for certain companies and businesses as well. So I think the best thing you can do is just sing my praises, if you like, be positive about me, speak to anyone you can. In terms of physical support, the best thing that you can offer is, finance to be able to go testing and investment into kind of my career, if you like. But there's got to be obviously a return on investment for whoever's coming on board. So especially with the W Series, obviously having supported most things that we need to pay for, all I kind of need is testing and bum in seat time. So the way that I've been offering that is kind of through brand ambassadorship. So I'm actually a brand ambassador for Harley Davidson.
Cool.
Very, very cool. And a shoe company called Pelotti as well. So, they're helping kind of, keep me moving along and help me be able to do what I want to do. So, yeah, anything you can really. Just, yeah.
Love that. Right, another question for you. And Doke says, what's your end goal? F1 champion?
My end goal is just to be a factory driver for a manufacturer. So, there isn't really any kind of championship that I have in mind particularly. I just want to be a racing driver, through and through. So, that means that I'm able to wake up every morning, train, twice a day, however many times a day, just eat, sleep, breathe motorsport and being the best driver I can be. So kind of dream goal, maybe a GT driver, and it would be cool to do it with someone like Bentley, British. That would be probably a good place to go. But yeah, just a fully supported, funded racing driver is what I want to be. F1, my dream.
That's good. How much of a challenge is it? How many sleepless nights do you have thinking about, right, where am I going to get the cash to continue my dream, to continue being a driver and something that you're so good at?
Do you know, I ask myself that probably most days. It's extremely frustrating, and most people, especially maybe viewers that kind of see me on the Grand Tour, they just assume that that's it, I'm well on my way, but actually it's not. And definitely one at the end of last year when I got the call about doing W Series and the calendar was announced, and like the first 4 races were like weekend on, weekend off. And I was thinking, how am I going to pay my bills? Because that's a big chunk of time that I'm going to have to spend out the country, focusing on the driving, and I've still got bills to pay. And as much as obviously W Series are fantastic that they provide the prize money at the end of the year, that doesn't get my bills paid during the season. So, I was getting quite stressed about it, on the phone to Mum, thinking, I even said, I was like, Mum, I might have to move back home. Is that all right? Yeah. Just so I could save as much money as I could. And obviously Mum said yes. And it's
please come back, she said.
And yeah, I had a few lifelines kind of thrown at me by the companies that I was on about with the brand ambassador type roles that kind of lifted the weight off my shoulders. And oh my God, I can't tell you the relief it was that at least my bills would be paid, and then anything else I can kind of work at and bring some more money in. But it's the same for everyone that's not from a wealthy background. You're always looking for kind of avenues to go down to try and generate some income. And now I remember, like, even as a kid when I was like 15, whenever we were on the road driving somewhere, I'd be looking at all the trucks on the motorway and I'd be writing them down, the companies down, to then chase them for sponsorship. So yeah, it comes with motorsport, and I think if you're kind of passionate about it enough and you're determined enough, then you just stick at it. I must be passionate about it
We're clearly both bonkers at being passionate for something that we do, but That's what makes life a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, I also want to talk to you about the thing at the moment everyone seems to be talking about, which is diversity,
Mhm.
and what your experiences have been. Obviously, going onto the Grand Tour in the first place was kind of exposing yourself to what could have been, you know, quite a difficult situation with three very strong personalities. You yourself have a strong personality, so it's easier, I suppose. But yeah, how have you found life, you know, for yourself, and the diversity issues that being a female have for you?
Um, to be honest, I was really pleasantly surprised on how I was taken by the Grand Tour fans, and you know, I kind of prepared myself for a lot more negativity. And to be honest, you had to kind of try and find the negativity, and you know, that was something that was almost a little bit overwhelming. I really wasn't expecting it. Um, and that's kind of carried on through the seasons that I've done as well. And actually, when the team, Andy and Jeremy and so on, when they probably realised actually how well received it was, they allowed me to kind of go on in my normal clothes. So in one of the episodes, I'm just in my civvies driving this old Renault 9 thing. And everyone was super positive, and actually they were asking for more, and a lot of people wanted to see more of me. So yeah, that was a really, really kind of humbling moment, I guess, from that aspect of things. But I think, you know, being a female in motorsport, I don't know whether it must be harder, but for me, I kind of let it go like that, because I'm just there to do a job. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that's holding me back is money. Um, you know, I've always kind of been in the top three of whatever I've jumped into to drive. And, you know, if I can kind of continue that, and, you know, if I do it with hardly any backing, then I think it's more rewarding. And, you know, I've had to work harder to do it. But yeah, it's definitely the kind of diversity thing, I think, is as you mentioned, is at the forefront of everyone's mind at the moment. And I think that's through sport globally, you know, with the women's football, etc., etc. I think it's kind of, it's moving in the right direction again. But yeah, I've just got a really thick skin. I just let it go, any of the issues.
I don't think that's a problem. I think that's probably for the best in this industry. I mean, what you must have encountered some people saying some pretty stupid things to you through your days racing.
Yeah, there's been a few. To be honest, the best ones are when, and I was saying a story to someone else the other day. When I was in British GT, and it was the Silverstone round, and I think I'd qualified. I can't remember, I qualified quite well, and the European GT4 series were racing with us, and they had, I think there was two or three of the Maseratis, and one of the drivers won the Maserati Super Trofeo. And I remember the head of Maserati coming over to me, because I'd out qualified all of them, and he came over to the garage and he was like, "Where's Marcus?" And I was like, "Oh, he's over there." And I wandered over, and he's like, "Marcus, well done, you were really quick. That's a really quick lap." And Marcus was like, "It was Abbie," and his face was like, "Oh, oh." Um,
Awkward.
yeah, you kind of get those comments a lot, which it's not, you know, it's not meant in a horrible way. It's just, you know, they don't, you know, expect the female to be the quicker driver. And I quite like catching people out and making them feel, but yeah, I don't mind stuff like that. And to be honest, it even happened the other day. I was on a track day with an Aston Martin doing some filming, and there was a Audi R8 GT3 car, and come out the pits, and he was just holding me up. So like I went off, and then came in the pits, and he wanders over, and he's like, "What's this Aston had done to it then? You know, has it been tuned up or something?" And we're like, "No, it's just standard." And he's like, I was with a male co-driver, if you like, and he was like, "So was you were driving then? What have you done?" And he was like, "No, it was Abbie." And again, he was like, "Right, right, okay." So it's that kind of stuff, you know. It's all
Yeah.
harmless. Yeah, yeah, pretty harmless stuff.
I think, you know, a lot is being done at the moment to try and get more diverse people into motorsport, and try and level things up. I think, you know, it will always be a playground for rich white guys who have a lot of money and they've got spare cash that they can just chuck at, you know, the amateur driving. And in a way, as a driver, you kind of have to just cling on to their coattails sometimes and say, okay, well, they're rich, they want to go play. And luckily for me, they want me along for the ride as well. That's kind of part of Pro-Am racing, part of GT racing, isn't it?
Yeah, we kind of view it as, they've got something that we need, which is the finance, and we've got something that they need, the skills to drive, and we can coach them and make them the better driver. So, as long as both parties are getting out of it what they want to get out of it, then, it's a good partnership to have. But yeah, as you say, really, it would be good if motorsport was a bit more accessible, but due to the nature of cars being so blooming expensive, it kind of rules out a lot of people from it, which is a shame. But I think the lower you go, so you go down to the grassroots, and I think the friendlier people are, though. So
yeah,
the rallycross round last year, we went to Lynn Hill, and everyone was so friendly, and like, it was absolutely amazing. It was the most fun ever, and I'd like to see a little bit more of that come back to, even the higher levels of motorsport.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Right, I won't ask you that question. Well, I'll put it up on the screen so people can see it. Which of the lads do you like best? That's just mean to ask you that, isn't it?
They've all got their own little quirks and characteristics, but I think probably the one who makes me laugh the most is James May. He's a great guy, but
Yeah.
climate purposes, I like them all equally.
Of course, you have to say that. Right, here's a good one. Lee Jordan saying, evening, how many tattoos do you have, Abbie? Now, tattoos and you, I'm intrigued by this because obviously you kind of, it's not a sleeve, is it? I'm rubbish, I don't have any tattoos, but it's kind of getting there.
I don't really know what the actual word is for it.
Just a big ass tattoo.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in total. So yeah, this one I got done 2, maybe 3 years ago, and it's the biggest one I've got on show. And for years and years, I wanted one on the back of my arm. I wanted actually a sleeve from here down, just up to my elbow. But I thought no, because obviously motorsport can be quite corporate, and some brands don't want that kind of image associated with them, or blah 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 blah. So I didn't do it for a long time, and then I just thought, you know what, I'm good at my job. I can be professional and speak to people, when I need to, and people like me for me and who I am. So sod it. If they don't like me because I've got a tattoo, then they're not the kind of people that I want to be associated with. So I went for it, much to my mum's dismay, and I know my mum's watching, so sorry, Mum.
Hi, Mum.
Yeah, love it, absolutely love it. And I'd understand if I got something really offensive on my arm, I'd never do that. But some flowers, please don't be offended at flowers. So yeah, that is my story behind that, and other ones are just little ones here and there that I kind of mean something to me.
Have you got any that you regret getting?
I don't regret getting it, but I've got some writing on my ribs, and I just wish I'd maybe done that in a little different font. But I chose the font specifically because it's kind of really kind of solid font, and it's a quote. It says, "This too shall pass." So I got it when I was going through a little bit of a rough time, and when you kind of can't see the way out, and you're just a bit like, oh, it's just going to get worse and worse. And actually, when you make it out the other side, you realise, well, it's just going to pass. Like every other kind of hard time in your life, it'll be hard for a bit, but generally it'll always get better. And I didn't really want to embellish that with some fancy writing or anything, because it's just a fact. I can see my mum writing. She's agreeing that she was shocked at my tattoo. So yeah, that's maybe the one that I'd change. But yeah, I can't allow my brain to regret anything because they're on me forever now. So yeah,
that's true. And as you say, dark days mean that you can appreciate the lighter ones, hopefully. And they all teach you something along the way. Well, I've got a little girl who's 3.5, and everybody tells you like, this too shall pass. That's like the catchphrase of being a mum, because you go, can today get any worse? You never quite know what you're going to get, but yes, every phase disappears, and all the crappy
Yeah.
times are hopefully replaced
Oh,
by good times.
yeah.
Right, here we go. Tim has asked, is sim racing helpful? We spoke a little bit
Yes.
about sim racing at the beginning, I know, but
Certain aspects are useful. So if you're learning new circuits, for example, it's amazing at that. You know, it means that you can turn up to a new track and know where the circuit goes, and certain things will be different. So kind of like the undulations of the track and stuff like that will generally be a little bit different to sim racing. But yeah, it definitely makes a massive positive difference learning it on the sim before. But it's very frustrating. I think it's probably one of the most frustrating things I've ever done in my entire life. I think there's a lot of drivers that say that as well, that agree. I think you either get it very quickly or you have to work really, really hard at it. Someone said to me the other day, have you had a lot of rage quits? So when you just get in a big rage and you just quit.
oh,
Lots of them, lots of quits. But yeah, it's, if you look at it as a tool for you know, training certain aspects, then it is very useful. And you know what, it's nice to be able to race against some of my friends as well, and, you know, just have a little bit of a laugh together.
oh my God! Talking about friendship quickly, W Series.
Mm.
I had my reservations because put a whole group of girls together competing against each other from very different backgrounds. Yes, you all like racing, but I thought that was going to be a nightmare. But actually, it seems like there are some very genuine, very close friendships within a group of females, firstly, and within a group of females sort of competing against each other.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange, and I've not really entered the world completely yet because I've not had to race against any of them. But um, I kind of first felt it when I went to the W Series assessment. So obviously there was none of the girls there. It was all just the newbies that were trying out, and you almost, you're basically in the same hotel together. You're on the same coach to the track. You eat lunch together. You're on the same coach back. You have dinner together. So you can't help yourself but actually become fond of some of the other drivers, and you know, you become friends effectively. And just the same as some of the girls that are in W Series last year, you know, I've known of them, and if I saw them at the track, we'd have a chinwag, we'd have a chat. But yeah, now that it kind of, well, probably next year when it gets a bit more serious, I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it. Um, I don't know whether I'll have to try and distance myself or not. But again, that's something that I just need to work out. And I think probably once the helmet's on and you're racing side by side, you know, maybe you just judge how badly they're going to react if something goes wrong, and then you pick your moves accordingly.
Are you, when you're driving, how aware, especially at the start, when you've got that first, you know, lap where everything's at stake, how aware are you of who's where? Or is it just you're aware that there are just cars?
Yeah, it's mainly just you're aware that there's cars, and you're kind of so focused on making the most out of the tiniest little gaps and windows you might have to kind of slot, you know, a couple of places forwards or whatever. But once that kind of settles down and you're in a bit of a groove, and you know, you're looking at who's behind you, who's in front of you, and you know, you might be asking your engineer, you know, who's behind me, or because you know that certain drivers might be better at braking, or certain drivers might be better at this part of the track, or you know, certain drivers might be a bit more aggressive at overtaking or a bit more difficult to pass. And so you learn that about the other drivers. But yeah, on a first lap, it's just trying to survive and keep on the track, really.
Oh, so cool. It's, you know, as someone who can jump in a go-kart every now and then, have a huge amount of fun, there was never any thought that I could actually get into a car when I was younger. And I've been lucky enough with my job to do a few sessions in cars here and there, and you know, caterums and stuff like that, and I've absolutely loved it. But I'm well aware that just by working in a paddock, it does not mean I can do what you guys do. I think a lot of people look at what you well, a lot of people look at what you guys do and think, oh, it's easy. It's certainly not, is it?
And I think it's probably because most people expect, you know, pretty much everyone's got a car that they drive on the road, and they cruise around. They might have done a long drive down to the south of France or something, and it's not particularly physically taxing. It might make you a bit sleepy, mentally challenging, but it's not physically challenging. And they can't, because they've never experienced it, actually how difficult some cars are to drive. Some cars, to be able to hit the brakes hard enough, you have to train and you have to squat and you have to deadlift and you have to do stuff like that to be able to reach the peak on the brake that you need to have. And you see, for example, Stephen Kane, who races for Bentley, his quads are like that. They are massive, and he can smash that brake pedal, to oblivion. And some cars haven't got power steering, and the G-forces on the neck as well. You'll see F1 drivers, they've got quite broad, wide necks, and it's just to be able to deal with it and not fatigue. So, yeah, anyone that says driving a car is physically easy, that's probably the one thing that winds me up the most. Back and sit in the car, because they wouldn't be able to deal with the heat exhaustion of like a V8 supercar. Like, it's so hot, so hot.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to be super fit. And just looking at the pictures of that Lewis Hamilton's posted over the last few days of him training, and they have to be so lean now. If you're in a car that, may have ballast, you've got to be really careful not to go overweight and stuff. There's just so many things for you guys to think about, not just getting in a car. And if you've got to think about finance on top of that and all of that other stuff, it's amazing that you have time for anything else in your life.
We don't really.
Oh, bless you.
It's a lifestyle thing, and this is what I tried to explain to some people, is that there's been so many things I've missed out on, and my mum's missed out on supporting my dad through his career as well. That social gatherings, weddings, birthdays. I missed out on half missed out on my cousin's wedding last year because I was racing rallycross, and in the end I was trying to find a flight that I'd be able to go to the ceremony in the morning and then fly out to Hungary and race. And the only flight I could get was from Humberside, which thankfully was near to where their wedding was, but it meant I had to get a flight from Humberside to Amsterdam and then Amsterdam to wherever I was going, and it was like 500 quid more than the other flights. But I was like, I just want to be there to see her get married at least. But yeah, again, it's like any other professional athlete, you make those sacrifices because it's what you want to do.
I remember my first year doing proper TV stuff was when I was covering MotoGP, and I had to take one of the races off. I think it was Jerez, because my brother-in-law was getting married. It had been a long-standing arrangement way before I signed to do this TV contract stuff. And the amount of grief I got for not doing one round of the season, because I was going to my brother-in-law's wedding, was unreal. And people are mean, aren't they?
Yeah.
Online. Yeah.
And they question your commitment and all this. And it's like, we commit every sinew in our body to this thing, but there comes a point where there might be one thing that you're like, I need to do this and I'm going to do it. Like one of my co-driver in British GT, his sister was getting married when we were racing at Alton Park. So he actually missed qualifying on one of the days, so we had to did he get a helicopter? I think he got a helicopter across, flew in, and then did the race and flew home to be able to do it.
That's amazing.
But if I did, I would be doing that, I think.
Top marks. Do you follow F1? Are you a fan of F1 at all?
I've not watched it a lot the last kind of few years, to be honest. When I was younger, and I used to watch it all the time, like when Shuey was in it, driving and dominating. But I've lost maybe a little bit of love for it, just because it's just whoever's in the best car wins kind of thing. And I feel like maybe the end of last year or last year was definitely getting better. And I think it was the start last year, or maybe the year before in Japan. And it was the first race that I sat down to watch for ages. And I was glued and it was mega. So yeah, maybe because I'm actually racing on the F1 package for a couple of rounds, I should probably sit down and have another watch of it a bit more.
I was only going to ask who you thought was going to win the championship this year.
It's I mean, it's probably going to be Lewis, isn't it? Let's be honest. But do you know who I really, really want to win is Charles Leclerc. I want him to win at some point. But yeah, I don't know.
I think it'll happen eventually, maybe.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying this year you could get a lot of surprises because obviously people haven't been in the cars as usual. They'll be driving tracks maybe they've never been to, they don't know at all. If we end up going to Mugello, amazing. But that sort of thing, we need a few things to just throw everything up in the air and get some unpredictability. But most people think Max Verstappen for the first 2 races.
Yeah. Do you know, so the last 2 years I put a bet on for Bottas to win, just to an outsider bet. I'm like, I'll put a cheeky 10 or 20 quid on it. And he's not really come up trumps.
Maybe this year. This year is his year.
Maybe I'll do it, yeah, because the moment I don't put the bet on, he'll bloody win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've taken up way too much of your time. It's been fabulous to talk to you. And I wish you the best of luck for whatever this season, kind of non-season, brings for you. Are you enjoying the sort of W Series sim racing? I mean, it must be surreal to be racing against people you've never really raced against.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I'm sure I'm only going to get better. But it's been quite, I mean, sim racing in general it's very easy to kind of accidentally have contact with people. So I've been hit off quite a lot so far. But I'm sure it'll all come good in the end. But yeah, I'm enjoying racing against people that I'm going to race against, and just seeing the friendship between past and present drivers as well. So yeah, a few more races to go. I think we've got seven left to do. So yeah, I am enjoying myself doing that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and me. I don't know why I'm saying us. That's like the royal we, isn't it? It's just me here. But thank you for coming on and for chatting, and I wish you the best. And I hope that somebody watching this somewhere in the world will go, I know, I've got lots of money and I want to pay for you to go off and do lots of days testing in an F3 or some single-seater somewhere.
I'm going to keep playing the Euro money and the lottery until then, and hope for the best. But yeah, no, have me. It's been lovely to finally chat, and yeah, thanks everyone for the questions as well.
Cool. I will let you go. Have a lovely evening, and hi to your folks.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So lovely, Abbie Eaton. Hopefully you enjoyed that. She's super cool, and I think anybody would or should be delighted to have her as a brand ambassador, because she's just such a good orator for the sport, for what she does, for all of it. So yes, that was good. Now the big debate that I want to ask you about is my lockdown lives, because obviously we've got next weekend and then the racing starts, and I've got a funny feeling we're all going to be in a slightly different place once the racing starts. So I'm considering doing these lockdown lives slightly differently. So I'm going to rack my brain, see if I can come up with a good idea. I think I've got a really good guest for next week, because my lovely ex-colleague Alec McNish said that he would come on. So fingers crossed we'll have Alec McNish for you next week to chat all things Le Mans and racing and Formula E, and you name it, he can talk about it, and even working with me. I hope you have a really good week. As I said, my thoughts are partly with Alex Zanardi, and hoping that he gets through this next, I suppose, week is going to be really important. But thank you for joining me and joining my Sunday night. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, you can leave messages for me, and in 2 weeks' time we'll know who has won the first F1 race of the season, and I can't wait to get back to it. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.